Discussion move forward. I have in the studios. They were here last week, so it's like a continuation. We all know what we're talking about. I have Dr. Muda Yusuf. He's the Director, Chief Executive Officer, Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise. You're welcome once again.
Thank you and good morning.
I also have the DG of NECA, Mr. Wale Smatoyinde. Thank you also for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
You are here physically this time. It's nice to see your face.
Thank you.
Now, we also have Ms. Victoria Nwadoka. She's the Chairman, Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Technical Committee of NECA. She's also the Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Lead at Nestle. All right, thank you so much for coming. Welcome once again. So, we were talking policies last week. So, I want us to continue on the conversation, but at the same time, break it down a little bit more. And it's maybe let's start with specific industries now, if you can. What are some of these policies that we are setting an agenda? So, what are some of these policies that will that is not good generally for the business environment? I'll start with you, Mr. White.
Thank you very much. I think suffice first to say that the organized businesses agenda for government is not it's not a frivolous kind of engagement or document that we have. It's a document that came out from a deep engagement between the organized businesses, as it were. We have the institutions that made up the organized private sector, which includes NECA as the voice of business, also Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. We have NASIMA, that's National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Mines, Agri and Industry. We have NASME, National Association of Small and Medium Scale Enterprises. We have NASI, Nigeria Association of Small Scale Industrialists. Now, these five made up what we call the organized private sector, and it's the engagement between the five and other critical stakeholders, both locally and internationally. And drawing from our experience in the last 8 years or the last 16 years of the issues, the challenges that businesses have faced, is the outcome of that engagement that came up to what we call the agenda of the organized private sector for the incoming government. So it's a deep, incisive document that we are speaking to within the context of this engagement. So coming to those policies that you mentioned, I think one of the key policies and one of the issues, even as my colleagues will contribute, and that we have seen that has created serious breach within the flow of production and consumption over the last few years is the issue of forex, because forex is at the heart of many industries basically, because the inputs that most of those industries we use, most of those inputs are imported, and if they are imported, that means you need forex to get them imported. And when you don't have a stable forex environment, currently we have a dual exchange rate, which doesn't make going to the official market. It doesn't make it encouraging. The structure, the process doesn't make it interesting, or doesn't make it
That's the
workable for
structure
you.
of getting the
The
official.
forex is official forex, yes,
Okay.
at 450 something as currently being sold by the CBN. But you have a parallel market, just the market just across the streets, across the banks, where the same forex is sold at 700 and something naira per dollar.
And that one is much easier to access.
It's much easier, and you realize that even if I have forex, even if I have access to forex globally, and I bring forex to the country, it's easy for me, or more profitable for me, to take my forex to the black market to sell at 400 and 750 something naira, than take it through the official market, even with all the incentives that the CBN has created. So fundamentally, forex remains a critical issue that is hindering production at all level, both at the MSME level, both at the SME level, and also both at the big MNS level, that's multinational level. Without forex, we create a big breach within the context of what we can do, how we can do it, and the productivity and sustainability of our businesses. So one key issue is, let's deal with the issue of forex. Let's deal with the issue of revenue as we generate it from forex perspective. That will be helpful for businesses.
Okay, let me come to you, Dr. Yusuf, as someone from as a promoter of private enterprise. What are some of the, apart from the forex now, it's been talked about how Nigeria's space is not exactly encouraging for businesses. Um, what are the efforts that the private sector is making in communicating with governments as this for instance, incoming administrations to ensure that the business atmosphere is more accepting or more free or more conducive for private businesses?
Well, I think that is also the core of the engagement that we are having now, and it's about ensuring that you have we inspire investors' confidence, because without confidence you cannot have investment. Without investment you cannot grow the economy. And some of the critical issues around engendering confidence is the quality of policies,
Quality.
quality of economic policies, quality, the kind of economic policies you have, which is part of the thing that the DT had referenced. And in order to have quality economic policies, engagement is key, and that is why at this stage, because we are in a transition period, it is very important that we get it right from the very beginning. You know, we already have existing policies. We look at what is working well, what is not working well, what we need to fine tune, and we have a whole range of policy space. He has talked about the foreign exchange policy environment. We have issues around the regulatory environment, how the regulators relating with the key players in the economy in a way that they can also engender confidence. We have issues of trade. How are we managing our trade environment? When I say trade now, I mean import, export, and even domestic trade. You need the right kind of environment. You don't When you have a situation where the trade policy regime is so unstable, is so unpredictable, when you have a situation where we have trade facilitation issues.
What's making these policies unstable?
No, it's government. It's the way the government agencies change policy. You know. So what we are saying is that there is need for stability and consistency of policies. For many of our members, many players in the economy, particularly in the real sector of the economy, they are investing billions of dollars in some instances, and this investment are things that will take several years for you to recoup. So if you invest billions of dollars today based on existing policies, and 1 year, 2 years down the line, you change the policy, you have put the entire investment at risk. So we need that kind of stability of policy in order to be able to encourage a lot more investment. And that is why we cannot overemphasize the importance of consultation. Apart from having the right kind of people crafting the policies, we also need to engage with the key players in the economy. Some of the challenges we are having today is as a result of lack of consultation. Look at it, what is happening with the Naira policy. Yes, on the face of it, it is good, but look at the disruptions that it has caused over the last few months. You know, even the forex policy that the DGs talked about, if there had been proper consultation, we'll have more confidence. And all of these things are critical to the confidence of investors. So these are some of the things: issues of regulation, issues of policy, issues of some of the institutions that relate with the private sector. All of these things are very important, and we need a proper framework, to ensure that all of these things work together well for the private sector. Both whether we are talking of large enterprises or small enterprises and the micro enterprise, all of these components are very critical to creating jobs and to the stabilization of this economy.
Ms. Victoria, let me come to you now. What I saw that you were agreeing with a lot of things he is saying. Do you want to jump in and add a few things to what he just said?
Yes, he talked about the trade issues, and yes, Mr. DG had already spoken about the forex issues. I want to give you just a few examples that you might remember. So, we were free to export items or to import items across Western Central Africa, right? And then one day we wake up and then the borders are closed. We are not sure why the borders were closed. We're not consulted. We're not asked what impact will it have on your business if these borders are closed. And so the borders are closed, and it's closed for a very long time. And it was said that it is meant to stop X, Y, and Z, but you didn't ask us. We're the ones in business, and when it was going to be reopened, we didn't even think or were not consulted to ask how should we reopen it so it will make it easy for you, so it will be fluid, so it will work well. So imagine somebody who has invested based on the fact that, oh, I can send some of these products across the border. Now, if we talk about the forex issue as well, just a few examples of what that could do. You come into Nigeria and you invest. You're actually asked to pay for some things in dollars, right? That's the way it works now. But when you want to get back the dollars, you cannot get it at the official rate. You cannot pay at the official rate. So you're investing at a higher rate or the parallel market rate, and you're not able to get it at the official rate. So what are you doing? Your $10,000 will suddenly become maybe 3,500 by the time you round trip it. So you've invested in the country and then taking out your money, you cannot take it out because there is this difference between the official rate and the parallel market rate. Now, the other thing that makes me agree with them, I mean, I was agreeing with really because we're all in the same shoes, is that if you don't fix the revenue issues, how are you generating revenue? You're spending more than you know. You're borrowing to spend. You're not generating revenue. Until we fix that, we're going to keep having forex issues. The sure way to get forex, the sure way to have a foreign reserve, is to ensure that your economy is productive and that your reserves are out there so that you're able to invest and you're able to even attract investors. So imagine where you're spending, you're not making money. We must make it easier for us to export. What are the regulations? What are the things that we can export? How do you even pay for the things that you're exporting? How do people pay you? And when the money comes in, how is it? Now you've heard recently about airlines and the issues they have because their investment is stuck. Now the problem with that is the forex regime, where you do not have a unified rate. You have multiple rates. How
But
is the
how
government going to
exactly
survive that?
did these multiple rates come about? What is the push, or what is the thing that's driving these multiple rates that we can't stick to one rate?
Policy issues.
Policy issues, and there's, as some will say, the more you look, the less you see, because it will interest you to know that the wrath, part of the wrath that we need to deal with, part of the inherent contradictions, because those contradictions are everywhere.
Yeah.
As an agency of government is trying all its best to make sure there is employment generation, you still find another agency of government in that same government still creating bottlenecks for those that are supposed to generate employment. So the forex regime is also beset with part of the challenge we are, part of the inherent contradictions. Imagine I can go to the bank and get forex for 450 naira
Yep.
per dollar, and I'm able to get $1 million for 450 naira. You are not dealing with angels when I can go across the street and sell that $1 million for 750 naira per dollar. Imagine in an hour or in few minutes of transacting at the bank and moving to the parallel market, I can make close to double that amount. Except you are dealing with angels, you hardly find someone that will not be tempted to buy at that official rate and sell at the black market. So the moment you create that environment to tempt people, or an environment that creates opportunity for round tripping, then you started losing the point. The moment you create opportunity for regulatory agencies to strategically create bottlenecks,
Yes.
that will force a business person to come and bribe, that will force a business person to go off the official radar to come and transact with you. You've created a structure that encourages corruption. And those are the key issues that we're talking about. If you don't fix, as Dr. Moda said, if you don't fix the people first, if you don't fix the people, if you don't put round pegs in round holes, then we've started wrongly. No matter the policy you come up with, no matter how beautiful they are, if you don't fix the people issue at this point of who comes in, who else what, then we're creating problem for ourselves. And lastly, for me, if you don't deal with the issue of consultation, I think what we need more is more of a national consensus. Look at all the policies that we have in recent times. We can count almost 4 or 5 policies of the CBN. Sorry, putting CBN on the spot now. 4 or 5 policies of CBN. You come up with policies, then after a while we reverse those policies. The Naira design policy, people struggle to take their cash to the banks. we risk the life of our colleagues working in the bank for them to work overtime so that they can mop up those funds. Over a few months down the line, we are starting the same process again, asking our colleagues also in the banks to start working on weekends so that they can release what we forced them to mop up in the first place. If we are wasting man hours, we are wasting. It seems there is this this strategic or this strategic inconsistencies that we have built into our system, and those are the issues that we really need to fix, and we need to fix it now before we get running.
All right, I
And
think.
also related to
Okay.
that is the issue of vested interests. We should run an economy that works well for everybody, not an economy that works for a few. Now, what the DG just reference is about what we call a rent economy. And what a rent economy means is that where people get undue advantage over others. That is what the forex regime has created. That's what we call arbitrage. What he just talked about, taking money from one market, one window to another window, and making millions of, even billions in some cases, without doing anything. So we need a level playing field where you have a very transparent policy process that works for everybody, that doesn't give advantage to one over the other, that rewards people based on your quality of enterprise, your entrepreneurship skill, rather than the kind of connection that you have in government or in policy. So those things are very, very important. We have it in forex, we have it in oil and gas. All this oil subsidy and all these issues are also products of policies that are not transparent. There are also processes
Let's
of-
pick this call and see
Yes.
what this caller has to say. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Is that Neka?
Yes, this is the NECAP's Voice of Business.
I want to find out from your guests, what are they doing as a pressure group to make sure we have the right people as a minister for finance, trade, budget planning, because those ministries are very key. What are they doing as a pressure group to have the right people there? All right. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. All right, so you heard the question.
Well,
I think that will come to the DG straight up.
well, thank you very much for the call. I think first the prerogative of choice rests with the commander in chief, wherever he is at any point in time, and the best we can do is to point out the consequential effect of those choices in whatever ministry or whatever agency that the president will have, whoever he must have picked. Our role as a pressure group across board in the OPS is to point or emphasize the need for whoever is coming in to pick whoever is wherever it's coming from, whether it's coming from a Nigerian from Asia, a Nigerian from wherever it's residing, whatever the tribe, whatever the color of the person, provided he's a Nigerian and he has the competence. The point is the competence, and the president elect, and we had over last week, that he said he won't work with a government of national unity, but the government of competence. So how that will play out, we'll see. But
So do you
but be rest
have-
assured that we
do
are
you
we're
have-
engaging them.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. Do you have engagements? Do you have like preferences? Do you have a situation where maybe you hear the names come up and then you go and say, okay, these names, this is, you have like a research on each person and you have a voice to say this person doesn't have the experience. We prefer this person as to help us in our business.
In fact, Mr. Digi, let me answer this one. This is exactly what we're asking for. We're asking for those consultations so that we can make recommendations as well. So when you remember there are nominations, when you nominate, we want a place at the table to say, okay, you know what, we think. We've seen the track records, but also I think it's very easy to see what somebody has done in the past. By the time you get the person's CV and you see what the person has done before and whether the person succeeded in that or not, that gives you an idea that this person has the competence to do this. You don't want to bring a doctor and make him a finance minister. You want to make a doctor who is competent, who knows how to be an administrator in the medical field, the minister of health, and you want to make somebody who is successful in directing or managing a financial institution or managing a business. You want to make him minister of finance or trade and industry. So you want to put the right people in the right place. It's not rocket science. but those consultations will help us to actually make an input as well, to have a say in who makes the decisions that will affect each of us and our businesses.
Okay, so I think we have to round up a bit here. So, moving forward, I don't want to end the show on a kind of bleak note because it seems as if we have a lot of policies that are just not helping our business environment. What are some of the ways you think we can move forward positively in business in Nigeria?
Let me start and then I'll hand it over to Mr. DG. Now, because we're talking about setting an agenda for the government, we say
Yes.
the first things first. The Economic Transition Committee should be in place now with the right technocrats, with the right people, with the competent people, and also there should be consultation with the organized by private sector. The past government, for instance, had a quarterly engagement with business. That helps us to
Okay.
make input and then to drive, what did Mr. DG call it? A consensus, build consensus. That's the first thing that we need to do. And then I'm sure that Mr. DG and Dr. Muda have other points to add to that.
Please go ahead.
Well, I think the government should continue the next government should continue the track that this government is ending. The president just signed the business facilitation bill into a law, which creates some leverage for businesses, facilitating the ease of doing business. I think that is commendable. Also, the National Economic Agenda 2050 was just signed last week by the president. I think those are also commendable actions by this government. But we need to deepen the implementation of those laws. Not only sign them into law, but deepen the engagement in the context of implementation of those laws. And also create structures, definitive structures that will help us to assess, to evaluate the operationalization and the success of each policy, and also the operationalization of each agency's mandate to see whether they are contributing to business growth or whether they are actually hindering businesses.
Okay.
Well, still in the line of robust consultation, there are issues at the macro level, and when I say macro, general level, like the issue of forex, inflation, GDP growth, interest rates, credit.
I think over time we'll get
Yes,
big
there-
into
there-
each
there are
one
issues.
and
Yes.
get
Now,
deeper into
it's
each one.
also good to have sector-specific engagements because the challenges that each sector faces vary. You know, you have investors in aviation, for instance. You have in industry, in agric, in pharmacy. You know, it varies. So this kind of consultation we are talking about should also be sector-specific.
Okay, so
These are some of the
we have it's a broad issue, and as you said, as time goes by, we'll take each specific topic and dig deeper into them. If you have questions, you can always send them to us, and maybe we'll answer them during the show. You can get and then answer them during the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I feel we still have a lot to talk about,
Yes,
but we
me
have
too.
to go at this point. Thank you to Dr. Muda Yusuf for coming. Really appreciate you. Thank you also to Mr. Wallace Matoyende. Thank you so much for coming. And of course, thank you to Ms. Victoria Wadoka. Thank you also for joining us today. Now, same time next week, NECAP Voice of Business will be here, so join us. Write down your questions. I'm sure that a lot of us want to go into business and we are wondering what exactly is happening and how we can maybe take advantage of any policy that is out there for us. So just write down your questions and join us same time next week. My name is Olawumi Akon. Have a nice day.